The marsh greeted us like a living breath, thick with the damp chill of approaching night. I remember standing at the edge of that sprawling tangle of reeds and waterlogged earth, the sun a fading ember sinking behind the distant trees. My name is Evelyn, and as the de facto leader of our ragtag group, I could feel the weight of their uncertain glances. Each of us carried our own burden, but here, in the creeping twilight, all those seemed to shrink beneath the vast, impenetrable silence. Tom, ever the cheerful one, broke the quiet first. His gruff voice wove through the mist like a lifeline. "Well, if the marsh doesn't swallow us whole, I'll owe you all a drink," he joked, grinning beneath his weathered face. His attempt at humor was a fragile shield against the unknown, and for a moment it worked. A few smiles flickered in return, though the joke felt hollow against the looming shadows. Mark stood close by, his broad shoulders tense, eyes scanning the edges of the fading light. His skepticism was a tangible force, a counterbalance to the unease settling into our bones. "There's nothing out here but bugs and mud," he muttered, though even his voice carried an edge of doubt. Behind us, the air shifted. I caught the faintest sound, footsteps, almost imperceptible, echoing softly through the cold, damp air. My heart quickened, and I turned sharply, searching through the thickening fog. There was nothing, only the marsh, endless and indifferent, swallowing sound and light alike. Sarah lifted her camera, snapping photos into the grey haze, her sharp eyes trying to capture the intangible. Lena clutched her notebook, scribbling quietly, her sensitive nature attuned to the whispers of the marsh. Ben and Claire followed close, their steps uncertain but resolute. We pressed forward, each step sinking slightly into the soggy earth, the fog curling like ghostly fingers around our ankles. The strange flicker of lights danced just beyond sight, teasing the edges of vision with unnatural glimmers. Shadows shifted, never quite forming, always retreating when confronted. I found myself questioning every sense, every instinct. The marsh was no mere landscape. It was a labyrinth, a living puzzle crafted from mist and memory. I felt the weight of my own doubts pressing in, fueled by the ghost of a loss I had yet to fully face. Tom's laughter faded as the reality of the marsh's silence deepened. The footsteps behind us grew louder, slower, deliberate. None dared look back, but the fear was shared in the tightening of brows and the tightening of grips on packs and tools. I took a breath, steadying the tremor in my voice as I spoke. "Stay close, keep moving." Leadership was no longer a choice. It was a necessity. We were bound together by more than friendship now, by the growing dread that something unseen stalked us in the mist. The marsh swallowed our footsteps, our voices, and our hope. The night had thickened around us like a suffocating blanket before the first stars had a chance to pierce the heavy, low-hanging fog. We stumbled forward through the marsh, each step sinking slightly into the cold, damp earth beneath our boots. The world had shrunk to the circle of our flashlights, casting pale pools of light, swallowed quickly by the encroaching mist. I could feel the weight of silence pressing against my ears, broken only by the distant croaks of frogs and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures in the reeds. Sarah was ahead of me, crouching down to capture the eerie landscape through the lens of her camera. Her breath formed little clouds in the chill air, and the soft clicks of her shutter punctuated the quiet. She whispered to herself, a habit I recognized words of rationality and curiosity, a contrast to the sinking dread I felt. "Look at this," she murmured, showing me the screen. A shadowy figure, blurred and indistinct, lingered near the edge of the frame. Probably a trick of the light. Mark scoffed from behind, his broad frame tensed with impatience. Mark was growing more restless by the minute. His soldier's discipline made him a natural skeptic, and he refused to entertain anything beyond logical explanation. "It's just the fog playing tricks," he insisted, voice low but firm. "We're tired, and the sounds, probably animals. Nothing to worry about." I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. But every instinct screamed otherwise. The footsteps, soft, deliberate echoed. Behind us, never quite matching anyone's pace. Shadows flickered at the edges of our sight, vanishing when we turned. Lena, clutching her ever-present notebook, whispered quietly about the old marsh legends she'd read, stories of spirits haunting the wetlands, of souls lost in the mist forever. "Evelyn," she said softly as we paused by a gnarled tree, its roots twisting like skeletal fingers. "These stories, they talk about a light, a lantern that leads travelers deeper into the marsh, never to return." I swallowed hard, forcing calm into my voice. "Stories or not, we need to stick together and find a way out, whatever that takes." Tom, ever the optimist, tried to lift the mood with a joke, but the laughter was hollow, swallowed quickly by the oppressive fog. Even Ben and Claire, usually chatty and curious, fell silent, their faces pale in the dim light. The marsh felt alive, watching us, waiting. Arguments flared quietly between Mark and the others. He snapped at Lena for her superstitions and at Sarah for wasting time documenting instead of moving forward. The tension was palpable, a fragile thread holding us together, threatening to snap with every step. As I led us onward, doubts gnawed at me. Was I truly guiding us, or merely following my own fears? The footsteps behind us grew louder, closer, but when I dared to glance back, the fog swallowed everything, nothing but endless grey. The night deepened, and with it, the unease that wrapped around us like the fog itself. Lost in the marsh, with strange sounds all around, and no clear path ahead, our fragile hope began to falter. We were no longer just travelers. We were prey in a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. "We need to make a decision," I said, voice steady despite the tremor I felt inside. "Stay here and wait for daylight, or keep moving and hope we find the edge of the marsh." Mark's jaw tightened, his skepticism giving way to uncertainty. Lena's eyes searched the swirling mist as if the answer might reveal itself in the shifting shapes. Sarah raised her camera again, capturing the unseen, while Tom gave a tired smile, trying to hold us together. But the marsh had other plans, and as the fog thickened, so did the sense that we were not alone. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the night ahead. Whatever waited in the mist, we would face it together, or be swallowed whole by the darkness. And then, from somewhere just beyond our vision, the faintest sound of footsteps echoed once more. The chill of the evening seeped into my bones as the last pale traces of daylight slipped beneath the horizon. We stood at the treacherous edge of the marsh, swallowed by the thickening fog that curled and coiled like living tendrils around gnarled reeds and stagnant pools. Our breaths hung in the air, visible in the cold, and the soft squelch of boots on sodden earth was the only sound that dared to break the oppressive silence. I glanced around at my companions, each face etched with uncertainty, shadows flickering across their features as the fog shifted with the breeze. Tom was attempting to lighten the mood with one of his jokes, his weathered face breaking into a grin. But even his easy laughter seemed forced, swallowed quickly by the advancing gloom. Beside him, Mark's broad frame was tense, his eyes scanning the darkness with a skeptic's wariness. Lena clutched her notebook tightly, her gaze distant, as if trying to unravel some hidden meaning in the marsh's eerie silence. Then, through the grey murk, I saw it a flickering light, wavering like a will-o'-the-wisp, distant but unmistakable. It shimmered beyond the curve of the reeds, a lone lantern casting an unnatural glow that cut through the fog's suffocating embrace. My heart jolted. Could it be a guide? A beacon of rescue in this labyrinth of shadows? "Look there," I whispered, pointing toward the faint gleam. The others turned, their faces pale but hopeful. Even Mark's jaw clenched at the sight, his skepticism battling with the undeniable promise of light. "It could be a trap," he muttered, voice low but firm. "These marshes are notorious for tricking travelers with false lights. We shouldn't just follow blindly." "We can't stay here," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the knot tightening in my stomach. "We're lost, and the night is closing in. That light might be our only chance." Lena nodded, her eyes reflecting the lantern's flicker. "Local legends speak of such lights, but sometimes they lead the way. Sometimes they don't." A conflicted silence fell over the group. Sarah raised her camera, capturing the trembling light with a steady hand, while Claire shuffled closer to Lena, sharing a look that mingled curiosity with fear. "We have to move," Tom said finally, clapping his hands together as if to chase away the chill. "Better to follow something than nothing." Reluctantly, Mark conceded, though his gaze remained sharp and suspicious. We took cautious steps toward the glowing beacon, the fog swirling thicker with every pace. The light flickered erratically, as if struggling against the murk, casting long, dancing shadows that twisted the marsh's reeds into grotesque shapes. Behind us, faint footsteps echoed soft but deliberate whenever we turned. The swirling fog revealed nothing but emptiness. The sound grew louder, closer, but no figure emerged. Unease crept through the group like a cold hand, tightening its grip. "Did you hear that?" Lena whispered, clutching my arm. "I did," I said, scanning the mist. "But there's no one there." Mark scowled. "This isn't natural. Something's wrong." We pressed on, the lantern light bobbing ahead, a spectral guide that beckoned us deeper into the marsh's heart. My voice, steady and calm, broke through the mounting tension as I urged the group forward, determined to hold us together in the face of the unknown. "Stay close, keep your eyes open. We'll find our way." The marsh seemed to close in around us, the fog thickening until it was a living wall of white, swallowing sound and light alike. The footsteps behind us persisted a sinister rhythm that matched the quickening beat of my heart. The lantern's flame flickered wildly, casting grotesque shadows that danced among the reeds, as if the marsh itself were alive and watching. And yet, despite the fear that clawed at my mind, hope flickered too. That strange, wavering light was the only thing keeping us moving. The only promise of salvation in a place where despair threatened to consume us whole. But as we followed that flickering glow, a question gnawed at me. Was it truly a guide, or was the light a lure, drawing us ever deeper into the marsh's deadly embrace? The answer, I feared, would come too late. I tightened my grip on my coat, inhaled the damp, earthy scent of the marsh, and stepped forward into the unknown, with the others close behind. The marsh was an unforgiving maze, and as we stood frozen in the thickening fog, the danger we had sensed since nightfall began to take shape in the form of sound and shadow. Footsteps echoed behind Usoft, yet deliberate. No matter how many times we turned, nothing emerged from the swirling mist. The fog was a living thing, swallowing light and sound alike, twisting the world into something alien and hostile. Tom, ever the optimist, tried to break the tension. "Maybe it's just some animal," he said, forcing a chuckle that trembled on the edge of desperation. But his smile faltered. his laughter dying in the damp air as the footsteps persisted, relentless and eerie. The usual humor that lifted our spirits was gone, replaced by annoying unease that crept into every bone. Lena pressed her hands to her notebook, her fingers trembling as she whispered fragments of the folklore she had been piecing together. The marsh? It's haunted by something that walks unseen, she murmured, eyes darting to the shadows at the periphery of our vision. A spirit that feeds on fear itself. Her words hung between us, heavy and chilling. I felt the weight of my own past, fears the memory of my brother's unexplained disappearance, and how this place seemed to echo those losses with a cruel familiarity. My voice was steady, but inside, a cold knot tightened. We have to be cautious, I warned. This isn't just fog and shadows. There's something here, something we can't see, but it's watching us. Mark scoffed, his usual brash confidence wavering as the impossible nature of our predicament settled in. There's always a reasoner, rational explanation, he insisted, though the tremor in his voice betrayed his doubt. Sarah raised her camera, snapping pictures of the mist that seemed to pulse and shift around us, hoping to capture evidence of the unseen forces. But the images only deepened the mystery, revealing shapes and lights that defied logic. The footsteps grew closer, circling us like a predator, and the shadows flickered just beyond sight. Ben clung tightly to my arm, eyes wide with fear, while Claire whispered reassurances to Lena, her voice trembling. The marsh was no longer just a physical trap. It was a prison of the mind, each of us caught in a web of growing terror. In that moment, I realized the truth we had been avoiding. The marsh wasn't just a place. It was a presence, live watching and waiting. The footsteps were the heartbeat of something ancient, something that had been here long before us and would remain long after. We have to keep moving, I said, forcing calm into my voice. But we must stay together. The fog is not our friend tonight. As the group gathered their scattered resolve, the footsteps faded into the mist, leaving behind a silence that was heavier than any sound. The marsh had spoken, and its message was clear. We were not alone, and the night had only just begun. The fog closed in tighter, swallowing our figures as we pressed onward, each step a descent deeper into the unknown. The lantern light we had glimpsed flickered faintly in the distance, a fragile beacon in a sea of shadows. But with every heartbeat, the truth grew clearer. Following that light might not lead us out, but further in. And the footsteps behind us would not stop chasing. The night closed in around us like a shroud, the marshland swallowing sound and light with an unnatural hunger. We had gathered near a small clearing, where a meager fire sputtered against the damp air, its flames struggling to defy the creeping fog. The whispers began then, soft and almost indistinguishable, swirling around us on the cold breeze. They seemed to rise from the marsh itself, carried on the wind like secrets too dark to speak aloud. "Do you hear it?" Lena whispered, clutching her notebook tightly, her eyes wide and searching through the mist. Tom attempted to laugh it off, cracking a joke about the marsh spirits playing tricks on us, but even his usual joviality sounded hollow. Sarah sat a few feet away, hunched over her camera, reviewing the images she'd taken in the fading light. Her breaths came shallow and rapid, eyes flicking from the screen to the fog and back again. "Look," she said at last, voice trembling. We gathered around as she showed us the photograph's blurry, ethereal shapes hovered at the edges of the frames. Misty figures with no clear form, twisted and shifting as though alive. "What is that?" Claire murmured, shivering despite the layers of clothing. Mark scoffed loudly, breaking the fragile silence. "It's just fog and camera noise," he said sharply. "Stop letting the wind and shadows get to you. We're all tired and scared, but superstition won't get us out of here." His voice was harsh, but beneath the bravado, a flicker of unease betrayed him. Evelyn, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. "Mark's right about one thing: we need to keep a clear head, but we can't ignore what we're seeing or hearing. This marsh is not like anything I've ever known. It feels alive, watching us." The tension thickened, the fire casting long, flickering shadows that danced like ghosts around us. The whispers grew louder, curling into words just beyond comprehension. Evelyn's gaze drifted downward, her fingers tightening round the hem of her jacket. A sudden, sharp memory pierced through the fog of fear. The last time she had felt this helpless, this terrified. Her brother's face haunted her mind, pale and still, lost to a mystery that never quite made sense. She swallowed the lump in her throat, forcing herself back to the present. "We have to stay together," she said softly, meeting the eyes of each in turn. "Whatever's out there, it's feeding on our fear. We can't give it that power." But even as she spoke, the cracks in our unity began to widen. Mark's frustration boiled over. "This is nonsense. We should be looking for a way out, not chasing ghosts. If we don't keep practical, we're all dead." His words hit hard, cutting through the fragile calm like a blade. Tom tried to lighten the mood, offering a weak smile and a quip about the marsh being a bad place for ghost stories, but the effort fell flat. Lena and Claire exchanged worried looks, sharing silent fears that words could not capture. Sarah continued to snap pictures, her hands trembling as the camera caught glimpses of things none of us dared to acknowledge aloud. The marsh seemed to close in tighter, the fog thickening as if responding to our unease. The whispers persisted, a sinister lullaby that tugged at the edges of sanity. And beneath it all, the faint flickering glow of the lantern man's light pulsed like a heartbeat in the distance, a promise and a threat entwined. As the night deepened, I realized the terrible truth. The marsh was not just a place of lost paths. It was a prison for our minds, twisting reality until we could no longer tell friend from foe, truth from illusion. And in that fog, the lantern man waited patiently, his lantern casting shadows darker than night itself. We needed to hold on to each other, or risk being swallowed whole by the whispers of the marsh. The wind carried the voices again, softer now, almost like a sigh. The light flickered once more, teasing us with hope before retreating into the mist. The fog hung thick and heavy around us, curling like ghostly fingers through the twisted marsh grasses and clinging to our clothes with cold dampness. The lantern light flickered again, an unnatural pulse in the murky darkness. Its glow neither steady nor predictable, but almost hypnotic, like a heartbeat beckoning us forward. I tightened my grip on my coat, feeling the weight of the group's unease settling into my bones. "We have to keep moving," I said, my voice calm but firm, hoping to steady the growing tension. Mark scoffed softly, squinting toward the faint light ahead. "I still say it's just some hunter's lantern or a signal from a lost camper. Nothing supernatural. We don't know what we're chasing, and I don't like it." Lena clutched her notebook closer, her eyes darting between the glowing light and the shifting shadows. "There's something else," she whispered to Claire, who nodded in agreement. They huddled near a crooked tree, their breath forming small clouds in the chilly air as they whispered urgently. "The legends speak of a spirit that mimics light to lure travelers into the marsh's heart," Lena said. "A lost soul transformed, cursed to roam with a lantern that never goes out." I swallowed hard, the stories settling uneasily alongside the tangible dread pressing against my chest. Yet, the alternative, wandering blindly in this labyrinth of mire and mist, felt far worse. We needed direction, and this light, however sinister, was the only sign of a path. Tom tried to break the tension with a half-hearted joke, but even his usual joviality was strained. "Well, if this lantern man wants company, he's got it," he said, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Behind us, the soft crunch of footsteps pressed in, growing louder yet stubbornly invisible through the thick haze. Mark spun, muscles coiled, eyes sharp as he scanned the swirling grey. "Who's there? Show yourself." Only silence answered, save for the unsettling rhythm of steps that matched our own but with no body in sight. The fog seemed to swallow any shape, twisting reality until shadows flickered like living things at the edge of our vision. I took a deep breath, forcing my fear down. We can't stop now. Whatever's out there, it's following us, not the other way around. The lantern light is our only chance. Lena's fingers trembled on her notebook as she recorded every detail, her intuitive senses heightened by the eerie atmosphere. Claire stayed close beside her, eyes wide but determined. The lantern man's light flickered again, brighter this time, pulsing steadily a sinister rhythm that seemed to echo the pounding of my heart. We slipped through the marsh's tangled pathways, the mud sucking at our boots, the cold seeping into our skin. Each step forward felt like a descent deeper into a nightmare we could not wake from. Mark's skepticism wavered as the supernatural became undeniable. His jaw clenched, but he fell into step beside me, a silent acknowledgement that this was beyond any explanation his logic could wrap around. As we moved, the footsteps behind us never ceased, always just out of sight, and the shadows danced and flickered like specters eager to close the distance. The lantern's glow seemed to pulse with malevolent intent, a beacon of false hope, drawing us ever onward into the heart of the marsh and the darkness that awaited. I glanced back once more, the weight of responsibility heavy on my shoulders. "Stay close," I urged, voice steady despite the churning dread inside. We followed the light together. And so, with the lantern man's flickering glow ahead and footsteps stalking us unseen, we stepped deeper into the unknown, caught between fear and the desperate hope for escape. The night thickened around us, the marsh alive with whispers and shadows, and I knew there was no turning back.